Cārvāka podcast. This is your host Kushalmehra. All right, my guest today is Rahul Roushan, and Rahul and I are today going to chat about rules followed by the Indian media. Rahul, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kushal, for inviting me third time or fourth time. I don't know. But yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So just to give people a brief idea of what is
Yeah.
the structure of this podcast, so I had reached out to Rahul a few days ago, actually more than a few days ago. Rahul is
Yeah.
lazy. Uh, so I told him एक ऐसा structured discussion करना है जिसमें we actually talk about the mindset of the Indian media and how Indian media actually functions. So then I requested Rahul कि तू कुछ bullet points लिख के दे, and then maybe we can go one by one. So this is how we're going to go. We're going to create 8 titles which Rahul has given me, and then एक title को मैं screen पे लाऊंगा. Obviously, I'll read it out for the audio listeners also, and then Rahul can explain each and every one of them where these are observations made by Rahul over the behavioral patterns of the media over the year. Obviously, these are now by no means comprehensive or the only behavioral patterns, but these are some of the behavioral patterns. So, okay, we'll start with this, Rahul. Hindus can only be aggressors, not victims. What do you mean when we talk about this rule?
Right. So this is, kind of by now when people have been observing, the media and especially the headlines and the narrative, so this should be apparent, but sometimes, the even the obvious needs to be stated. So even I would start with a little introduction or disclaimer, that this is not comprehensive. This at the same time, while it's structured, I hope that I could have done a better job. Kushal has been trying to push me. I fell sick also in the meantime, and in fact, even today, I was under the impression that this podcast is scheduled to be day after tomorrow. So I just wish that I could have done a more academic work. But anyway, so these are some of the rules that we are going to talk about. That the Indian media subconsciously or on purpose follows. And the first one I wanted, I sent Kushal the list, and this was the one that I thought that we should take it first. That the Indian media behaves as if Hindus can never be victims. They have got this idea into their mind that Hindus are a brute majority. I don't know from where did they conjure that up. We are, the usual repeated trope that Hindus are 80% or more than 80% of the population. That's even not statistically true. The last census that we had was in 2011, and 2021, that is this year, which is coming to an end. We were supposed to have the another census, which happens every 10 years, and we don't have the data. And in back in 2011 itself, Hindus were less than 80%. And mind you, this is the situation when many people who technically might not be Hindus or might not even identify as Hindus are counted as Hindus in the census. And some people, for example, to save their scheduled tribe status and all that, they might think that to a government person, to somebody representing government agency, we should simply say that, okay, we are Hindus and we belong to this tribe or this caste, so that they get benefit of reservation, even though anything that they say in the census will not really take away their constitutional rights that has been given to them. But then these are government people. That is what people are under impressions, and that's how some of the minority pockets have been brainwashed like that. One of the reasons why we don't have a census in 2021, obviously one of the reasons is COVID. But even if COVID was not there, the kind of propaganda, the kind of paranoia that was spread around CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act, there would have been huge backlash, pushback, when census workers would have gone to these areas to talk to people, to count heads, that this next step is NRC and all that. So in short, let's not go into too much of details. So in short, there is this impression somehow, which is statistically not true, that Hindus are brute majority. I mean, if left to me to make a guesstimate of how much percentage of Indian population would be willing to identify as Hindus, not Chunavi Hindus, not those kind of Hindus. So I actually think it would be something around 65%, or at best maximum optimist that I can be is 70%. But that's really optimist. 60-65% is what I would put, which is nowhere a brute majority. You so statistically that's not true. However, this thought that Hindus are in a brute majority, that makes the Indian media believe, aided by their woke ideology, that any community which is in majority simply cannot be at any kind of disadvantage, or they cannot be victims in any sense. So that's how this ideology works almost everywhere. For example, in US, a white person can never be a victim. Now, we have crossed over from classical liberal ideology to a woke ideology, where ironically your ethnic identity is almost everything. You are reduced to your ethnic identity, which is what supposedly right wing people were doing, but that's what the left is doing currently. I mean, you are nothing but your ethnic identity, and whether you are a victim or whether you are oppressor, how much privilege points, how much underprivileged points you have, everything has to got to do with your ethnic identity, not in reality. The real statistics, the real environmental factors. I mean, not environmental in the sense climate, but social factors and all that. They simply don't matter. All that matters is your ethnic identity, and that's how has been internalized by the modern Indian media also, and traditionally also Indian media have been thinking that Hindus cannot be victim. I mean, you are in majority, and this has taken such an absurd form, that they simply refuse to report anything where Hindus can be a victim. I mean, the best that they can do is to maybe report something about Kashmiri Pandits, for example, because it's in your face. You cannot really ignore that completely. But even there, you can see that how much of really good journalistic work has been done, for example, on in case of Kashmiri Pandits, and what they had to suffer. Very few. I mean, how many names we know? Uh, if we go around asking people, they would be knowing more names of Kashmiri terrorists than actually the victims of terrorism. So that has been the narrative in media, that somehow Hindus, even in places like Kashmir, and now say in Kerala, in some pockets of Bengal, in Northeast, you cannot be a victim. If people are objecting to uh, uh, your temples airing religious songs. There are cases when temples have been desecrated. Only very recently, these cases have been reported. When processions, religious processions, all those things, when you go and visurgence of idols and all that, those processions are regularly attacked in many parts of the countries. These are rarely reported. Once alternate voices started coming, once alternate media, say Up India kind of outlets started, and they started reporting about it. And vernacular media, by the way, does report, because they are still not in that woke kind of mentality, especially the Hindi media. So so that's what you can see, that while Hindi media will report, English media will not report. It will feel like there's something wrong. Angrezi da reporter, Angrezi da desk person sitting in Delhi, Dainik Jagran, Amar Ujala, no. If they are saying that a Hindu procession was attacked, maybe they don't know. Maybe some Sanghi might have reported for Dainik Jagran and all that. So that kind of a mindset, especially the English media, the Delhi-centric English media has gone into, that they are not ready to believe that Hindus can be victim. And this has, so these are some of the direct forms or direct outcomes of this belief. The very absurd outcomes of this belief that we saw very recently was when almost every media tried to give context to lynchings in Punjab. So Sikhs are in minority. And we are when we are talking about Hindus and minorities, obviously we are not only talking about Muslims. Muslims in a way are not really micro minority or in that something like that. But the Sikhs, uh, it's a case of religious fundamentalism. It's a case of Sikh extremism, if one may, if one should put it like that. You keep on crying about Hindu Pakistan. Why are you not? Why why doesn't one single person say that let's not create a Sikh Pakistan? It's a right parallel over there. The way lynchings happen for alleged blasphemy back in Pakistan, and that's happening here in Punjab. But every damn in the media, Indian media, went on to give context that Sikhs are very angry because police action doesn't take place on Beadbi charges and things like that. Why did they do that? The same mindset that somehow the non-Hindus cannot be victims, even if they have gone in and lynched someone, even in places where they are in majority. In Punjab, Sikhs are actually in majority. Still, they cannot see the majoritarian tendencies over there. They keep on talking about, like that Hindus can only be aggressor or they cannot be victim because they are in majority. The same rule doesn't apply even when non-Hindus are in majority in some areas, whether it's Kashmir, whether it's Punjab, whether it's Northeast. You take the Christians, it's gone on to absurd kind of a scenario. And in my book, sorry to pimp my book again, I had written a line that the Hindu victims are numbers at best, whereas Muslim victims, and you can turn it into a non-Hindu victims, they are narrative. So you have a lot of, and at best they can say that, okay, three killed in a riot that happened after a temple was desecrated or things like that. That's all. Nothing more will be done. We still don't know what were the names of the two person who were lynched in Punjab. Forget Punjab. We don't know. Go on and ask any person on the street about one person who was burnt alive in Godhra. Nobody can tell you. And on the other hand, you have a long list of victims from the non-Hindu communities. You talk about lynching, everyone will talk about Akhlaq, Pehlu, and God knows who. Not one person will be able to come up with names of Hindu victims of lynching. There is a very viral clip of Anand Ranganath, that when he's reading up the names of Hindu lynching of victims, and he usually reads up those names in public, gathering, and ask people whether they have heard those names. Obviously, upfront he doesn't say that these are lynching victims. He says that, okay, have you heard about Pehlu Khan? Everyone's hand would go up. Have you heard about this Akhlaq? Everyone would go up. And then when he starts talking about the Hindu victims, nobody knows. In fact, shame on me that even I cannot come up with 3 or 4 names, off the cuff right now. So that's the kind of thing that media is able to create, because somehow in their mind this is the rule that plays, that they're not able to believe that Hindus can be victims too. And there are various reasons to it. We can go into psychoanalysis of why they believe like this, but primarily I believe the reason is their left plus woke mentality, which kind of reduces everything to ethnic identity. And for them, anyone in majority cannot be victim, and they have basically borrowed all the woke ideas from the West. They have replaced white with Hindus, and without caring about the local context, local history, local realities, they are simply sticking to that. So this is where I think why, and this is one of the very usual rule the Indian media adopts.
Yeah, so my take in all of this is I've always found 2-3 things very interesting about the narrative. फर्स्ट थिंग इज इंडिया में एक बड़ी अजीब हैबिट है, लोग बोलते हैं आई एम अ सेक्युलर पर्सन. मुझे आज तक नहीं समझ पड़ा हाउ एन इंडिविजुअल कैन बिकम सेक्युलर. मैं हमेशा हंसता हूँ इसके ऊपर, और मुझे एक्चुअली बड़ी खुंदक मचती है जब कोई बोलता है कि वो इंडिविजुअली सेक्युलर, मतलब आर यू अ ब्लैंक स्लेट और समथिंग. तो आई एम नॉट अ सेक्युलर पर्सन. आई हैव क्लियर कट आइडियाज. बट सी, अगर आप सेक्युलर पर्सन हो, मतलब आप इंडिविजुअलिस्ट हो, अगर आप इंडिविजुअलिस्ट हो तो आपको आइडेंटिटी पॉलिटिक्स से क्या लेना देना, आप तो इंडिविजुअल हो।
Right.
अच्छा नहीं, मगर सबसे
Right.
ज्यादा आइडेंटिटी पॉलिटिक्स लोग ही खेलते हैं जो अपने आप को सेक्युलर बोलते हैं, तो वो
I
एक
agree.
हिपोक्रेसी होती है। दूसरा, अगर आपका प्रिज्म
Mm.
माइनॉरिटी मेजोरिटी है, तो व्हाई इज द माइनॉरिटी मेजोरिटी प्रिज्म ओनली फ्रॉम कश्मीर टू कन्याकुमारी की बाउंड्री? व्हाई कांट द
Mm.
माइनॉरिटी मेजोरिटी? एंड आई थिंक इट अप्लाइज इक्वली टू मुस्लिम्स हु सफर एंड हिंदूज हु सफर, राइट? You
Mm.
could be
Mm.
a Muslim in a majority Hindu area who suffers, let's assume, and you could be a Hindu who suffers in a minority, in a majority Muslim area.
Mm.
For you
Good.
could be a Jain. अभी recently एक story
Mm.
थी, वो जैन लोगों को बोला जा रहा था, आप निकलो यहाँ से, आप निकलो यहाँ से, आप निकलो यहाँ से, these things are, and I have seen stories of Muslims also being told to move. But the point is
Mm.
that the definitional problem in the Indian worldview is very absurd, if you ask me. Like, minority kya hai, majority? Like, I agree with you. When it comes to Kashmir, Hindus are minority. When it comes to Punjab, Hindus are minority. मगर they are not minority. वहां पे भी नहीं
Mm.
अलाउड है। अच्छा, वो छोड़ दो, बॉम्बे के अंदर, मस्जिद बंदर के अंदर हिंदूज आर मेजोरिटी और हिंदूज आर माइनॉरिटी।
True.
ये
Mm.
क्वेश्चन लेजिटिमेट है मेरे हिसाब से। इसमें कोई, in my world, I don't look at people as groups, I look at them as
Mm.
individuals, so at least I'm consistent in that worldview, and मुझे तो इसके लिए दोनों साइड से गाली पड़ती है, वो एक अलग कहानी है।
Mm.
मगर पॉइंट ये है कि द इंडियन मीडिया, when even when they play with their own rules, they're not consistent, and I agree with you that the consistency is lacking. But now let's go to the second rule. Now,
Mm.
this was very interesting. Hinduism doesn't exist except when we want it to.
Right. This is on a kind of intellectual level that Indian media operates on. Many of the you know constituents of Indian media might not even, they might balk at this idea that, well, we don't really see things like this, but they do. I mean, uh, say right now we are going into various states are going into polls. Right now you would have many opinion polls, pre-poll, post-poll analysis, and you in that you would see that which community is voting for which party. These are the kind of surveys. Obviously there is no universal or factually correct data for these things. Now Indian media would hardly, I mean, uh, very recently they might have started doing it, but do they ever put it that, okay, x percentage of Hindus vote for this party? No, they will always say Brahmins, Dalits, Rajputs, or whatever is the dominant caste in that particular state, how they are voting, then how Muslims are voting, and then if there are Christians over there, Sikhs over there, how they are voting. So by default, I mean, the way they treat Hinduism just as a group of castes. They don't treat it as a block for their own analysis purposes. And this is what, say, any common Indian media is doing. When you go into the woke ideology, they actually definitely believe it. Some of them might publicly deny it. For example, that's how they kept on denying before the dismantling global Hindutva thing was happening. When the other side, when people started saying that this is all bullshit, you guys simply hate Hinduism. This is a event that you have dressed up as dismantling Hinduphobia, but all that you want to do is actually eradicate Hinduism. And they kept on denying that there is something, Hindutva and Hinduism is different. This is the biggest lie after मजहब नहीं सिखाता आपस में प्रेम रखना, आपस में प्यार रखना, मैं ऐसा सही बोल गया. So that was the original lie, and this is the biggest lie that is being spread these days, that Hinduism and Hindutva are different. And when finally that thing happened, that event happened, almost every of the guys, when they had to speak and when they had to be somewhat intellectually honest, they ended up saying that, okay, there is actually not much difference, and we are in some way or the other against Hinduism. Now you have that magazine Cārvāka, which clearly says that there is nothing like Hinduism. Hinduism is a Brahmanical concept in which various non-Brahmin castes were painted saffron. I don't know what do they mean, but this is actually visually, that's how they had put on their cover page. And this is a very old belief that Hinduism as such does not exist. It's a term that has been coined after foreigners came to India, especially first the Muslims, who actually gave you the name Hindu. The Persians technically, who could not pronounce S of Sindhu, and they gave you the name Hindu. And then, during the British era, obviously a lot of such studies were, kind of funded as well as promoted by them, in which it was kind of argued that Hinduism did not really exist. It's a post-colonial construct, for example. So that's what many of the people on intellectually subscribe to as well on the left. So that's what they believe in. That's a scholastic kind of stand that they have taken. Those who do understand these things. Obviously, a lot of people working in the media might not even understand these things, and they could be working in secular, in modern liberal media, and they might not actually be into these kind of things, but they subscribe indirectly or directly to this belief. So Hinduism for them is a fake construct. It's a Brahmanical construct, But in that sense, if you actually believe that in all sincerity, then why do you talk about brute majority? Why do you talk about majoritarianism and all that? If for you Hinduism does not exist, and you yourself kind of go and promote people who talk about Bahujan politics. Bahujan literally means uh, majority, and they say that Bahujans are not Hindus. So you are saying majority are not Hindus. So what kind of majoritarianism you are talking about? At one point of time, intellectually, scholarly, theoretically, you believe Hinduism doesn't exist and non-Hindus are in majority. And at the same time, you are also saying that the challenge or the threat from Hindus or Hinduism is of majoritarianism. So which majority really are you talking about? So that's why I said that, this is a rule that they again subconsciously, more than first one, follow, where they actually don't believe in anything called Hinduism, but conjure this up when they have to scare the minorities, when they have to talk about majoritarianism and things like that. And not only that, in some way, because they believe in this, they start believing that Hinduism is an inferior religion. It's a very Abrahamic concept that they don't realize they have internalized. And because they don't really believe that Hinduism is a religion in that sense, they start treating Hinduism that way. That's why is that, when there is Eid, तो ईद की रोशनी से बाजार जगमग हुए और बाजारों में रौनक आई. But when it's Diwali, you only talk about pollution. You only talk about how unhealthy the food is, as if having a plum cake on Christmas is not unhealthy. And everything about Hindu festival, you have only got negative things to talk about. That is also an outcome of you having indirectly internalized this belief that Hinduism does not exist. It's not even a religion per se in their frame of reference. And that's how it plays out. That they believe that it's fair. It's fair that you don't celebrate the religions. I mean, more than media, it's actually some of the marketeers who try to celebrate the religion. Although even among them, 90% of them are busy preaching Hindus about how to have their celebrations, how to meaningfully celebrate Diwali and stuff like that. No one is going to tell you how to meaningfully celebrate Eid, how to meaningfully celebrate Christmas. No such kind of what you say, uh, bhashan for other religions. So that also, I believe, is an outcome of this, if of this rule that they follow, that this religion doesn't really exist. But when they have to talk about how minorities are in danger and all that, then Hinduism exists. It exists as a monolithic monster, which is waiting to gobble up all the supposedly secular and liberal ethos of the society. So
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
dichotomy that they believe in.
So इसमें तीन चार और points just to give a basis. So there is this new Hinduism hypothesis. I think Rajiv Malhotra in Indra's क्या था, Indra's Net या क्या बुक थी उनका नाम, उसमें
Yeah.
he actually gave a very nice explanation of the new Hinduism hypothesis also. It's very interesting, right? So Buddhism broke the casteism of Hinduism, but Hinduism is a 18th century construct. These are real things that these people say.
Yeah.
Buddhism and Sikhism were a reaction to casteism, but Hinduism is actually a Brahmin construct of the 8th century. You will actually have some absurd ex-Muslim channels talking about this. Huh? It's a
Right.
very entertaining. It's actually extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
सारी प्रॉब्लम हिंदुइज्म की है, मगर हिंदुइज्म एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता है.
Ah, right.
जो भी लाइफ में प्रॉब्लम होती है वो हिंदुइज्म से. अच्छा, अगर मैं कई बार बोलता हूँ, अच्छा कास्ट का, फिर पशमानदा मुस्लिम्स का क्या. अच्छा, मैं पंजाब से हूँ, कोई मुझे बताया कि पंजाब में कास्ट नहीं है, तो मुझे बहुत हंसी आती है. मतलब लोगों को मालूम नहीं है 33% उधर दलित हैं, और
Mm,
दोनों सिखों और हिंदुओं में, दोनों में. और कास्ट इज रियल, कास्टिज्म इज रियल,
mm,
इंडिया में है
mm.
प्रॉब्लम. उनको बोलते नहीं, उनमें तो है ही नहीं जी. मैंने बोला भाई तुझे पता है कि सर से लेकर पैर तक एसजीपीसी में नॉन जेट अलाउड ही नहीं है, कोई भी प्लेस होल्डर नहीं है. वो तो हिंदू प्रैक्टिस है जो उन्होंने एब्जॉर्ब कर दी. अभी तो तूने बोला हिंदुइज्म रियल नहीं है, तो अभी हिंदू प्रैक्टिस कैसे एब्जॉर्ब कर ली? हाउ कैन यू एब्जॉर्ब समथिंग दैट इज नॉट रियल? सो आई एक्चुअली एग्री विथ यू दैट इट इज लिटरली अ यूज एंड थ्रो काइंड ऑफ रिलेशनशिप. नाउ
Also,
लेट्स गेट इनटू दिस. हाँ, बोल बोल.
yeah, and also just one line, one thing that I'd want to add, that if Hinduism does not exist, and it's what we know as Hinduism is just amalgamation of castes, then there is definitely something common between them, which is what Hinduism is. So it's actually the concept of fraternity among castes, right? So it's actually a very cherished value, which is there in our, preamble to the Constitution. Then why are you painting this as a monolithic monster? You yourself very strongly believe that there are only castes, there is no Hinduism, but at the same time Hinduism exists, which if put a gun onto their head, they would say that, okay, this is something that binds the caste. Then it's a very beautiful thing. It's the concept of fraternity that's in your Baba Saheb Ambedkar's Constitution. So celebrate it.
Yeah. So on caste, we go to the next rule. Caste is the ultimate rule. Religion is just propaganda. Now explain this. ये मुझे भी थोड़ा समझना है.
Yeah, you also kind of way just said that caste is reality, and fine, I mean, it is, obviously it is. I mean, any ethnic marker these days is a reality, and as I said in the beginning, it's becoming much more bigger and bigger, and perhaps the only reality, unfortunately, as both the so-called right and the so-called left is obsessed with your ethnic identity. So caste is also an ethnic marker in that sense. So obviously it's a reality. Now they can see caste in everything. I mean, you actually have Dalit food festival. You actually these days you want to have Dalit music, Dalit cinema. All these things are being promoted. You see caste almost in everything, in cricket. No, I mean, you name it, anything. I mean, the only thing perhaps remaining is, they bring caste in sex, or they might have done even that, Dalit sex or Brahmin sex, I don't know. Who knows, at this point of time, somebody in JNU is actually researching on that. So so this is your belief, that you believe caste is everywhere. But religion, but the moment somebody talks about religion, I mean, when you talk about caste, what do you mean? You mean the lived experiences, right? When you say that caste is a reality, or it's the ultimate truth, you are basically saying that, okay, it's a marker that doesn't leave you, that has an impact on your actual life, and that's why it's a reality, and it can have impact on your future as well. Fine, for not only for argument's sake, but to an extent I also believe in that. So I would agree to that. That's fine. But how come religion is not that marker? How come religion? I mean, on the basis of religion, literally, as many people might have been killed. In fact, much more would have been killed than in the name of caste. And this is all over the world actually. So how come whenever somebody talks about grievances which is related to caste, whenever somebody about religion, and especially about Hindu religion, you suddenly say that, okay, this why are you giving communal colors to it? So imagine this. I mean, anything happens, they will find caste in it. And if somebody say that, okay, for example, you are having a Dalit food festival, for example, and somebody says, why are you bringing caste in food? Entire swarm of armies will descend upon that man, that what do you mean, you are a moron? Obviously caste has got everything to do with it, right? How, and they will throw hordes of research that they have done in JNU and TIFFs of how caste is inalienable part of food and stuff like that. But the moment somebody talks about, say, religious grievances, that okay, I as a Hindu do not want to eat, for example, halal food, then you are saying, why are you bringing religion in food? That's the kind of stupidity, that's the kind of rule, hypocrisy media has internalized, that for them, caste, obviously, you go and find caste in anything, you will get people to justify bringing that caste into that aspect. But the moment somebody talks religion and Hindu religion, obviously as a Muslim also you can talk religion, on on anything, that okay, I was drinking coffee and somebody looked at me just because I had a beard and no mustache. So this is, oh God, I felt so scared and all that. Oh God, I'm so sorry you have to go through that and that. Like whole lot of comments would start filling up. But the moment somebody talks about grievances as a Hindu, then that person is bringing or giving communal color to certain things. So that is what they have internalized, because that's what they have been taught by the seniors, that this is giving communal colors. You find caste naturally present in everything, but somehow religion is an artificial construct that has been inserted in these problems. uh, in fact, for example, cases of so-called love jihad, I mean, I myself am not very fan of this term. And I mean, it's kind of an absurd term, and it was first created by the church back in Kerala, actually. But it's a catchy term, and it's fine. I'm not too pedantic about terms. So the cases of love jihad, for example, I mean, there are victims who are saying that I was forced to eat beef. There were victims who were saying that, okay, this guy was so nice to me before wedding, and post wedding, when our marital life began, he started forcing me to change my ways, my thinking, my food habits, my attire, and stuff like that. And yet these people would say that, okay, love jihad is trying to pollute or trying to give communal colors to marital disputes. I mean, come on, there are people. I mean, if victims are alive, unfortunately, most of the victims of love jihad are dead, and some of those who are alive, when they are on record saying that there is a communal angle to it, and it's entirely communal, you still have gumption to say that, okay, this don't give communal colors to these crimes. So that's one rule the media very religiously follows, that you insert caste anywhere, but the moment religion comes, then it's something, it's an artificial insertion. And they are very proud of bringing caste into anything, I mean, everything. Recently, one screen grab has gone viral from Netflix series Decoupled, right? In which this guy, this character who is, uh, kind of, he's a driver, and he's one of the lower caste person. He's saying that anyone who is not aware of his caste is an upper caste, right? So, and that's a very smart line, and I don't find that wrong or propaganda or anything. And that has been that has gone viral, that it's one of the rare things that wokes and liberals have liked in Decoupled. Now, why have they liked that? Let's try to understand that. What does the line say? That if you are not aware of your caste, you are most likely upper caste. What does it mean? That if basically it means that if you have not suffered, or if you have not gone through any bad experience, for example, and bad experiences are what mostly we tend to remember. I mean, I think there is some scientific paper also which says that traumatic things we tend to remember more. So when
Negativity bias.
right. So when you have, you can say that you don't have any caste, or you are not aware of your caste, is because you don't have perhaps any traumatic experience related to caste. That's why you can be blind to caste. The same, you apply the same theory, you apply the same wisdom on religion, na? That people who have literally died because of their religion, a Chandan Gupta who goes on to what you term as Muslim lanes. These days, Gurgaon public spaces have also become Muslim grounds. He goes there. He says Vande Mataram, and he is killed. That guy has paid through his life. There are people, obviously, Kashmiri Pandits, and those are there. But let's not even go into Kashmir. In so-called main India, where Hindus are supposed to be minority, there are pockets where people have paid because of their religious identity of Hindus. Obviously, the love jihad victims are there. So it's they have traumatic experience because of their religious marker. You don't have, because you are liberals, you are rich, you are safe in upper class, upper caste Hindu societies, gated communities, where you don't have any traumatic experience because of you being a Hindu. So you can then say that all this is nonsense. Religion does not. I mean, let's not give communal colors to it. The same way an upper caste person can say that, okay, let's not bring caste into it. When he says, then you immediately jump onto him that it's because you have not felt the problems due to caste. In the same way, when you lecture other Hindus that don't bring communal elements into it, it's because it's your privilege that you have not suffered because of your Hindu religious identity. And people, not only in Pakistan or Kashmir, people back in India, supposedly mainland India, are suffering from it.
Two, three things that I found interesting in this is that point number one, caste is the ultimate truth, but conditions apply only for Hinduism, not for
Hmm.
Islam, Sikhism, Christianity, and any other religious denomination in India. Caste is only the ultimate truth for Hinduism, and Hinduism is also not real at the same time, which is very funny. I don't know what to do with this thing. Second thing is that, look, as far as that Manu Joseph thing was concerned, decoupled ka, look, that line is real. Yes, there is upper caste privilege. I'm not going to deny that. But the point is, अब मैं क्या करूं? अब मैं अपने आप को गोली मार दूं? I can only say I don't agree with the system. मैं तो openly बोलता हूं, I want the annihilation of bad hierarchical systems. I am a laissez-faire guy who believes any hierarchy with upward mobility eventually is going to be there in a post-agricultural society. We need to make sure that anything that becomes rigid and nonsensical needs to go away. I'm not here to convince others of that. It's my personal view. But the point is that there are two ways of looking at it. There is one way that says, yes, upper caste privilege is real, and now you need to self-flagellate till the end of times and keep beating yourself with it. I refuse to do that. I don't believe in that. I'm not going to self-flagellate. I'm as anti-caste as it gets, and that it ends there. There are ways and methods of dealing with it. I don't understand this. And why, if Hinduism is an artificial construct, then how can you say caste is uniquely Hindu? I mean, Greek
Sure.
philosophy, Plato had a caste system. Plato also had something like the third tier, which he used to call auxiliaries, who were the minions, and only the aristocrats and the priests were supposed to take the decisions for the auxiliaries. I've stated the exact verse from the Plato's Republic that talks about that, but that's not the essence of that society, right? They got out of it. It's almost as if Hindu society and Hindu intelligentsia refuses to acknowledge the effort. There are efforts to destroy caste from the left, which I acknowledge, and there are efforts from the Hindu fold, like Arya Samaj is there, and then there is RSS, and then there are people don't realize Bajrang Dal. What is the caste matrix of Bajrang Dal? Will anybody ever recognize that reality that agar aap caste census lenge internal Bajrang Dal ka, that is the most SC, ST, OBC group amongst all the Hindu groups in India. They are as Hindu as it gets. So that's what bothered me the most now. But I want to connect this to the next rule that you spoke about, which is ये मेरे को समझ में नहीं पड़ रहा था. ये मेरे को एक्चुअली मेरे को ये तेरे से ये क्या है, द मिस्टीरियस अपर कास्ट मॉन्स्टर, ये समझा.
Right. So this is like the term upper caste. Like when you tell someone on the streets, what do you mean by upper caste? Almost 9 out of the 10 people would say, yeah, Brahmins and maybe Rajputs. Yeah, right. And mostly it's ingrained, especially in the say urban people, that upper caste, okay, Brahmins. At best Baniyas to an extent to some people. Now the media, the way it, because upper is relative, right? So the headlines that they come up with is so creative that many of the atrocities, or let's say tensions between, say, an intermediary caste and say what you call scheduled castes, or Dalits. They are not synonymous, by the way. uh, those things are written as like, say, a Dalit groom stopped by upper caste from riding a horse. Now, I mean, most of the times you would feel that, okay, maybe the Brahmins did it, or maybe the Rajputs did it, but many a times it's not the case. It's the OBCs, who have done it for whatever reasons. Maybe because they think they are higher caste, or simply because of feudal mindset. Feudal mindset can be present, and it is present in any society, regardless of religious, or that kind of a context or a sanction. Anyone can feudal. In fact, very recently we saw that there was a case in which father of a Dalit girl not only killed her, but apparently even raped her, because she married someone from another caste, who was of higher caste. Now, what is that? It's feudalism. Like, I mean, I'm the feudal lord of the family, and how come my? I mean, obviously it's misogyny, but it's broadly feudalism, that I am the feudal lord, and the women of my family has to do what I want them to do. Uh, so
Some
so
sort of
so
honor culture, right?
Right, and honor killing is also a subset of feudalistic thinking, and by again, by honor killing, the way media has depicted, and I'm not saying that the reality is not what they depict, but there are many cases. One must remember, in which especially girls, mostly women are the victim. They have been killed for marrying even in the upper castes. I mean, relatively upper castes, but that obviously very rarely gets into the headline. I mean, then it's honor killing. And if this caste angle is there, in which say the girl was especially the boy was from lower community, then definitely it will be in the headlines. Anyway, coming back to this upper caste thing, that this is so beautifully presented by the media, that say some a caste like Yadavs, for example, they can become upper caste when they are slapping a person from the scheduled caste, and they can become a lower caste when we are talking about, say, the time when Lalu Yadav rose. Right. So the upper caste term is used in that sense, that it prejudices a mind of a common reader, that everything wrong, everything bad is being done only by a couple of castes, which is either the Brahmins or in some cases Rajputs. बनियास को तो खैर वो वो उनको ऐसे ही ट्रोल करते रहते हैं कि कंजूस हो एंड ऑल दैट, बट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट atrocities mostly, and all of these things many a times done by say the intermediary castes. All the sin, all the bad karma lands up on the door of the Brahmins, or to an extent Rajputs, in the way media comes up with headlines. So that's what I wanted to. This is what one rule that they adopt, that use upper caste whenever you can kind of fit it into a headline. So and mostly people would not care to go through it. Even say an extremely backward caste and a scheduled caste, people are kind of fighting. So the extremely backward caste obviously is an upper caste related to the scheduled caste person, and that's how the media will report it. that say a local panch, sarpanch, or whatever, a mukhiya belonging to the upper caste did this thing to a person from the scheduled caste. And everyone, people, most 99% people read just the headlines, and for them, everything even now is being done by the Brahmins and the Rajputs in their that's the kind of thought, or that's the kind of outcome it has. It prejudices people's mind against only a few castes, whom I'm not giving complete clean chit, but the idea is that, okay, especially demonize Brahmins, and then uh, say that, okay, the Brahmins are the ones who are the only, I mean, this is a Brahmin dharma, and every other caste has been painted saffron. What, say, the karma was doing. So you can push that kind of propaganda only when you have maligned one group enough that everyone starts hating them, that everyone starts feeling that, okay, there is something wrong with Brahmins. They are always oppressing people. They are always doing wrong things. So, okay, so this theory that they kind of hijacked all the castes and they painted saffron, which is what Hinduism does not exist kind of theories argue. It gives credence to that kind of a theory. So this is this rule that you fit upper caste somehow in the headline unwittingly aids in that process.
Yeah, what's interesting is again, the upper caste is only the Brahmin, which is very. So I think the more accurate description of caste hierarchies in India would be dominant castes. So every
True.
state has its own dominant caste. Like in Haryana, we all know the Jats are a very dominant caste, right? They dominate the politics of that area, and whether we like it or not. In fact, I have always said I'm very open about it, that I only support SC/ST reservation. I don't believe in OBC reservation. I believe we should go back to the pre-mandal days, post-mandal,
Mhm.
pre-mandal. And I think there is a clear-cut case for SC/ST reservations in India. They have been historically oppressed, and there is no argument about that in my worldview. But what's interesting, are Jat Sikhs and dominant caste or not? Are Ashrafs a dominant caste or not? Are Pathans a dominant caste or not? um, eh, and I'm going to ask that uncomfortable question: in Haryana, are Jats the dominant caste or not? In Gujarat, are Patidars the dominant caste or not?
True.
गुजरात में पाटीदार बहुत डोमिनेंट कास्ट है, काफी डोमिनेंट है, मगर कास्ट हायरार्की
Yeah.
में वो किधर बैठेंगे ऑपरेशन ओलंपिक्स में? They will sit somewhere below. Now look, I am, again, it's weird that I have to say this, because I am the most anti-caste person probably in the entire
Mhm.
right wing. I am very openly anti-caste, like I hate that system. But the point is, I at the same time, I can't leave my brain in the corner when I look at a subject. I believe it is more about dominant castes, and it is because we have only incentivized caste based politics in this country. So we should not whine now that when caste, you basically incentivize caste based politics, then few dominant castes are going to dominate, and then you cannot spin it around and say we're in see, in UP, I understand maybe the Thakurs and the Brahmins are still a significant vote bank, but Brahmins are what in Maharashtra? What, 2%, 3%? क्या dominate करेंगे वो लोग अभी politically? I think
Yeah.
Marathas are the dominant caste in Maharashtra, whether we like it or
Right.
not, they are.
Yeah.
So that is my view on it, and
Right.
again,
Right.
people are free to disagree with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go into this. ये भी मेरे को ये explain कर अभी. The Holy Book of Unwritten Style Sheets. ये क्या था?
Yeah, it kind of follows from the previous one. Just like you must insert upper caste, that in a way, without saying directly, it prejudices a mind of a reader against mostly Brahmins and to an extent Rajputs, even though the the real caste which has done those things are what you are terming as dominant caste, which is fair enough a terminology. Now such terms, like insert upper caste into the headline, this is not the only phrase which is used to, as almost a rule. To what an extent, to what a effect, obviously everything has different effect. In this case, as I said, it prejudices minds against Brahmins, and then it's very easy to aid something against the Brahmins, talk about, you conjure up something called Brahmanism and then attack it. That's how it helps. Now there are many other things, many things that we don't even perhaps realize. Normal people, thanks to Twitter, many guys, especially those who are active on Twitter, they definitely realize it. but there are many phrases, which subtly prejudice your mind. So when Hindus are protesting, it's Hindutva outfits, and when Muslims are protesting, it's Muslim bodies. Now you see the semantics. Outfit has kind of a negative connotation. Muslim bodies, and it's almost like a natural uh, part of some ecological term. It seems that so Muslim bodies are upset about say tinkering with personal laws, whereas Hindutva outfits are against halal food. So by just by terming outfits versus bodies, you have already prejudiced a mind that, okay, this person, when outfits are demanding something, it's more of from a position of, say, power, a position of maybe forcing your own way. uh, what happens with the farmers, for example? Why nobody said that, okay, a few jet six are demanding that uh, this middle kind of what earthy or whatever system must remain. So then they are all poor people, that's how they are presented. So outfits versus bodies, these are some terms that the media, there is a rule that's how you have to use. I mean, I'm not saying that that's why I'm saying unwritten style sheets, that this is what media follows. Then other thing, for example, when students are protesting, when ABVP will protest, it will always be ABVP is protesting against XYZ. When SFI and all that would protest, then students group are protesting. So you legitimize, you legitimize the leftists, that they are as if they are legitimate voice of students, of community. And when ABVP is doing, they are doing as ABVP, they are doing political. So everything ABVP is doing becomes political. Everything that the left does because of students groups, that becomes genuine grievance of the student. That's again an unwritten style sheet. You will hardly, when ABVP is protesting, you will rarely find a newspaper headline that says students protest. It will always be ABVP protests. Then something like claims versus says. I mean, any Hindu group or any ABVP will always claim something. So even a woman would claim that her husband forced her to feed beef, but a person from Gurgaon says that he was forced to chant Jai Shri Ram. Then he's not claiming. Very simple term, claim versus says, makes a lot of difference. You seed doubt into the heads of the readers, that, okay, when you use the word claim, then you seed the doubt that, okay, this might not be right. These days, say Pfizer says, that their third booster is effective, but back in India, say a Covaxin or Bharat Biotech will claim that their vaccine is effective. So so these are some of the style sheets. And obviously we all know about NDTV is very fond of using alleged. Anything that they don't like becomes alleged. uh, and the activists, who are the activists, who I mean, who certifies them? Anyone becomes an activist. Any person who toes a particular kind of an idea becomes activist. And if somebody doesn't agree with that, then they become vigilantes. Then they become again, say, groups, outfits, not groups, yeah, definitely not bodies, but outfits, vigilantes. Civil society, for example, again, these are unwritten style sheets. If there are six or seven, say, Gurgaon Namaz controversy, for example, there were people in their 50s, 60s, frail people who had something to say. They are part of the civil society. Yeah, why don't you say that, okay, civil society in Gurgaon had problems with public namaz? Then they are monsters. Then they are not civil societies. And the moment somebody says, a group of people, especially senior citizens and all that, if they tell you something which is to your liking, then they become civil society. So they were uncivil society, and they actually went on to term those 50, 60, 70-year olds guys as somebody who is spreading venom and somebody who is spreading hate. And some when something is done on the other side, then they become the civil society. Which, what is this civil society? uh, and these days, I mean, in earlier days, when what has happened, somehow it's get reported, and you cannot deny that it has been reported. Or when police confirms something, something like, say, a temple being desecrated, or maybe Muslims insisting that, okay, Saraswati Puja will not happen. Then what happens is that, their own left leaning organizations, five or six people from that would come together, go to that place, and what would that group be called? Fact finding committee. I mean, because facts are not in your favor, so you create a fact finding committee who will now create facts that suit you. uh, uh, yeah, and this is these fact finding committees have been happening since decades. They're in a way, their digital version now is fact checkers. When facts doesn't suit you, then earlier you had finding committees, and now you have the fact checkers. And even non-verbal cues, for example, which is the part of the style sheet, that when you have to talk about some Hindu grievances, and always some angry Bajrang Dal guy or something like that, that kind of a picture you will put. When you have talk about Muslim grievances, then somebody is silently praying, in namaz, or in somewhere, that kind of a soothing image you will put. Or very blatant use of, say, a tantric. Even if a Muslim alim, or these kind of those who do black magic, even if he does something, there would be a representational image of a sadhu with a rudraksh and all that, that kind of style shit that media will follow. So this is what I meant by the unwritten style sheet. That this is how they prejudice the mind of a common reader without saying things directly. And especially in when you talk about activists, when you talk about civil society, and when you talk about things like fact finding committee, what exactly, and even experts, for what exactly are you trying to do? You are creating some authoritative groups, or you are creating some point of authority. And then when something is which you cannot say directly, you will say through them. Right, you cannot say directly that I don't agree with love jihad cases. You will say that, okay, a fact finding committee or a peacekeeping community has said this. So what exactly are you doing? This is, a very common and well known logical fallacy, that you appeal to authority. So first you create authority by terming them experts, by terming them fact finding, peace keeping, and all that, which who have got no legitimacy. It's not like any Supreme Court has appointed them, or you yourself have created those authority, and then you quote them. You do an appeal to authority, that, okay, the fact finding committee has found it, experts say it, peacekeeping committee has said that, okay, Hindutva groups have vitiated the atmosphere, and things like that. So the unwritten style sheets go on to create these kind of impacts.
So I guess that kind of connects to the next one, right? How do we justify all this? We are neutral. Why are we neutral? Because we think so, right?
Right. I mean, that's what I mean. This is one rule that entire media believes, except people on the right. We are very honest about it, that we are not neutral. But these guys genuinely believe, that they are neutral. And if you ask them, then I mean, they don't have. They cannot justify why do they think they are neutral. And unfortunately, most people, any a common person, if you go on street and you ask them, do you like neutral media, 99.9% might say that, yeah, they like neutral media. Now we are living in that kind of a world where awareness and education level should be that high, that a common person should realize there is nothing like neutral media. I mean, there is nothing like neutrality. Simply, if a person
Yeah.
is rational, if a person is thinking, which hopefully journalists are, uh, he cannot be neutral. I mean, you can be neutral only in broadly in two scenarios. One where you have no idea. I mean, I would be neutral about
As in indifferent, basically. Indifferent.
or even unaware. I mean, like if you ask me about uh, whether Roger Federer is better, or I don't even know the other. Tell me some other tennis guy's name. I know
Nadal.
zero thing about. Yeah, Nadal, for example. I know zero thing about tennis, so I would be neutral. I don't know. So when you are unaware, then you can be happily neutral, or when you simply don't care. As I said, indifferent. How can you afford to be indifferent in many scenarios? At one time, I mean, it's the liberals themselves who come on to who say that if you are indifferent, you are with the oppressors, right? It's their own grand wisdom that they always say. So they themselves are saying that they cannot be neutral, and these days they are always in that zone where somebody is oppressing someone. इस दुनिया में तो कोई ना कोई किसी न किसी को ऑप्रेस कर ही रहा है, वोक आइडियोलॉजी, वोक नजरों से देखें तो a man is oppressing a woman, higher caste is oppressing a lower caste, Hindus are Muslim oppression, white is oppressing black. Everywhere only oppression is there according to the woke ideology. And when oppression is happening, they themselves say that you cannot be indifferent, which means you cannot be neutral, right? I mean, either you are lying, or you are admitting that you are a moron. You don't know. For example, I don't know anything about tennis, so I can be neutral. So pick one of these things. Are you indifferent, and you actually lie when you say that when you don't take sides, you are with the oppressors? Is that virtue signaling that you do, or is neutrality a virtue signaling that you do? One of it has to be a virtue signaling thing, or you don't know enough. So admit one of these two things. So that's what I mean, that unfortunately, not only the people in media, but even common people still believe in neutrality, which pisses me off like anything. But what to do?
Yeah, this is one place where you and I are in complete agreement, because I had also done a complete monologue which I said neutrality is an absolute and bloody sham. I mean, anybody who thinks they're neutral is just a dunderhead. I mean, yeah, I could be, like I said, you're using the word neutral in that case. I just think I'm indifferent to many things, and I'm unaware. I don't know. And when I'm
Right.
unaware, like quantum mechanics, I'm not neutral. I just don't know about quantum mechanics or
Sure.
quantum physics.
Sure.
So
Sure.
to say I'm neutral to it, I mean, I don't know. I have an opinion on things. It could be an ill-informed opinion or an informed opinion. Neutrality to aati nahi hai. But then you
Hmm.
confuse me with the next rule where you say, okay, we are not neutral because media must be liberal.
Yeah. So this is when you go and counter question them. I think you had a interview with Shekhar Gupta. I don't know. I'm sorry, I couldn't see that watch that fully. I don't know if you asked him about neutrality. But if you
No, I
counter
did
people.
raise this point. I asked him, why are journalists like Ichhadari Nags and Nagins?
Right. So once you kind of uh, ask them these things, give them this context that you cannot be neutral, and many of them themselves have these days started that you cannot be neutral. They are actually proud to be called them selectivists, that yeah, we will only talk about select things and stuff like that. And then they will justify all this by saying that okay, these are all in the lines of principles of being liberal. First of all, most of the media, almost in and especially those who claim to have clout, and unfortunately who do have clout also, they are no longer classical liberal, but what in modern terms is known as woke, obsessed with oppressed oppressor kind of a relationship. But they would back on to they would pick up some of the classical liberal uh, uh, philosophers or writers to justify these things. So Noam Chomsky obviously is one of the very better known critics of media, especially critics of corporate media. And he has said that a media ought to be liberal. A media cannot be biased. I mean, neutral. It has to have a liberal bias. That's exact word he uses. So in that sense, that gives a moral authority to many people in the media also, that yeah, we are not neutral, we are liberal. And liberalism has certain values, and we stick to that. And if somebody and that includes being illiberal to illiberals. And this Popper's paradox is very kind of easily, very frequently used by these people, that which I think many of your listeners might know, but for those who don't know, it basically says that you can be intolerant to the intolerant, because if you are tolerant of the intolerant, then their intolerance will remove entire scenario where tolerance can exist. So to protect tolerance, you have to be intolerant towards the intolerant. So this is a paradox, that that you want to save tolerance, but you have to be intolerant to save the tolerance. It's like going to war to keep peace. Both of which is true, but the problem is, you this is like, you give a dog a bad name and hang him. You simply declare anyone intolerant, you declare anyone a fascist, and then you justify all your biases, all your prejudices, by using Popper's paradox. So that's what is happening, in the name of having that, okay, we are not neutral, we have liberal values, and we have to stick to that, we have to save liberal values. You are being illiberal by painting some other people as illiberal, as intolerant, as fascist, and then throwing Popper's paradox at them. So this is what I mean. I mean, this is one of the rules that they have adopted.
Oh, by the way, Shekhar Gupta is in complete agreement with you on the neutrality issue. He also thinks there is no such thing as a neutral journalist, by the way. He was very
Mhm.
clear. He's
Thank
like,
God.
I'm not a
Yeah.
neutral journalist.
No, I like
He
him.
was
I mean,
crystal
this
clear.
this might become a viral clip, but among all the celebrity journalists, Shekhar Gupta is most tolerable. I mean, he does come up with
Yep,
pearls of
I have.
wisdom.
I got a lot of abuse for talking to him. I actually had a really good time talking to him. I learned a lot. He was very clear in
Yeah,
his
but
concepts.
yeah,
You
he
can
can
judge
be.
him
He
for
can.
his political.
Yeah, one can accuse him of being fork-tongued, which I think he is, and he becomes a little too smart on occasions. But I think, yeah, he even in forget in private, even in public, he will have some honesty to admit to a few things
Yes.
that we are talking.
Yeah. Okay. This one completely confused me. We are Spider-Man. What the hell is this?
This is again, I how can I not end by promoting my book? So this is what I had written in the book, that I mean, many journalists do believe that they are out there trying to save the world, and Spider-Man, Superman, all these people, their alter egos were working in media houses. So and so they also believe that that they have a huge responsibility on their shoulders, that that they must save the world, they must educate the masses, they must reform the people. Now these things might have been things to cherish, say 100 years back, when democracy was shaping up. I mean, like, I don't know who gave this diagram, but it has become so popular, and it has become one of the truisms, that we have four pillars of democracy. You have the legislature, you have the judiciary system, the judiciary, and you have the executive, the police, and all those, and the media. Now, who brought media over there? Every three have some kind of accountability, have some kind of institutional uh, uh, kind rules and regulations along with them. Anyone cannot become a legislature. Anyone cannot become a judge, or an IS officer. But technically anyone can become a journalist, right? So you have made yourself the fourth pillar of democracy. That itself shows how much self importance you give yourself. And at some point of time, I don't want to sound completely disdainful towards them. At some point of time, that could have made sense, because it's not like people have to forget about their own role once they elect legislatures and they are in lawmaking. It has to be a constant process of people talking to their lawmakers, or talking to the even judiciary, even though they don't want to listen. In fact, funnily, all the four pillars don't want to listen to people. you know Legislatures don't want to get any feedback. The executives, IS officers, and all that, obviously they don't want to listen that, okay, how bad or how incompetent or how messed up they are. Judiciary, obviously, you say anything and they are ready to throw in your jail. And even the media, which was supposed to talk to them, even they don't want to listen any bad thing about them. And that's one thing where, because I like Shekhar Gupta, that he doesn't lose his shit on, at least on Twitter. He is abused by everyone, I think. But I don't think he has, lost his shit on Twitter and started playing victim or anything. So that's one thing. That's one another thing I like, apart from many other things I dislike about him. So that's. I mean, who made you the fourth pillar of democracy? As I said, that democracy as such, it's a very recent concept. I mean, like, human civilization literally goes back to thousand more, many thousands years back, and democracy has been shaped very recently, and the media somehow arrogated themselves the right to be the fourth pillar, which made sense at one point of time, when you have to constantly talking to the legislatures, or to executives, or even to the judiciary. But with technologies evolving, with education and awareness growing, that part should have changed. I mean, like, now you do not exactly need one newspaper being with an editor as a gatekeeper, and that person is deciding what is the voice of the people. So that in a way is antithetical to democratic ideas, that and that person is completely unaccountable. So in that sense, it should have changed. I mean, the role of media, uh, the kind of big responsibilities, Spider-Man type of responsibilities that they had taken upon themselves, themselves should have realized that no, with changing technology, with more awareness, with more education, with more articulation. I mean, there are common people who are more articulate and aware than journalists. Perhaps they are not that in a world-saving role anymore. But that's where they are not ready to kind of accept, and it's almost everywhere. And they have actually decided to hit back, on the technology, and they have been very, especially, at least the one part of them who traditionally have done the gatekeeping for the mainstream media. Now they are successfully doing gatekeeping even for the big tech. So unfortunately, I'm very pessimist over there. But that we have kind of gone back to the same times, where what forms the role of the people, who needs to be saved. The Spider-Man will decide where he goes, he picks up the suits and goes. So that unfortunately has come back because of the tentacles, the kind of backdoor entry the old establishment has done in big tech.
All right. So Rahul, now we'll take some viewer questions और फटाफट आंसर
Oh, yeah.
करेंगे ताकि we can take
Yeah.
maximum number of questions. So the first one has asked, why doesn't Op India run something like Cut the Clutter that print runs? Though I lean right wing, I listen to Cut the Clutter. Does Op India has any plans where तू भी शेखर गुप्ता के जैसे analyze करेगा?
Yeah, I think I have to blame myself only for that. Maybe I should have done it. I mean, I cannot ask my editors to do it. They actually are busy doing things. I have thought about many things. I have a chip on my shoulder that I'm not a good orator, and I can at best be a decent, guy while conversing. But when it comes to monologue, I'm not good, and Shekhar is good. But I completely realize that this needs to be done. Let's see. Maybe if I get, it's not about time; it's more about confidence. If I get that, I might start, or I can push one of the editors only to do it.
Okay, so someone has asked, are these rules that we have discussed today any different in regional language India, or is there any
Yeah.
variation in the attitude of the media by state or region also?
Yeah. Very good question. I really won't know about non-Hindi regional media because I am a Hindi speaker, and I have tracked mostly Hindi media. And some of these rules don't get followed in Hindi media. As for example, they do report temple desecrations. They do report attacks on Hindu processions. I mean, many of the articles on Op India that you see, which are deliberately not reported by an NDTV or an Indian Express, they are based on vernacular and Hindi media reports. So some of these are not definitely not followed by the vernacular Hindi media, which is one of the reasons why they are made fun of, Hindi medium types. And but unfortunately, what happens unwittingly, they end up following the elite English media. If you see that the big names of who write columns in English paper, even Chetan Bhagat, for example, his translated columns get published in Dainik Jagran and all that, which is not fine. I mean, Hindi should have their own heroes and writers. So that's one thing where they unwittingly end up following the same kind of rules, because they also look up to English people. If you go and ask people working in Hindi Hindi newspapers, I mean, they have far more circulation, they have far more impact also, and yet their salaries are less than what their English counterparts get. So there is a little bit of lack of self confidence. For example, I am not confident that I can do a show like Shekhar Gupta. In the same way, perhaps Hindi guys are not confident that they should stamp their own feet and they should have their own say because they are the bosses. That they lack, and they unwittingly end up following what the elite or entitled English media does.
Okay, so somebody has asked who can be the judge for Indian media? Who judges
You,
them?
obviously, whoever asked, he has to be. I mean,
Yeah, fans.
the people have to be. I have maintained it for long that media must be seen as all kind of media, and obviously, I mean, right wing media is pretty honest about it. We are advocates. We are in advocacy. We are pushing for a particular narrative. We are pushing for a particular view. The other side is, it is honest. They don't say it, but treat them as advocates, and you be the judge. Unfortunately, for that, you will have to take time out. You will have to study a bit. But that's how the ideal world that should function.
Yeah, so someone has asked, I'm curious that how much of these media biases have impact on the ground. Is there a legal consequence to incite this?
Yeah, a lot. I think has an impact on ground. It's not so much in fact impactful because of two reasons. One, as somebody rightly asked and realized that many of these might not be being followed by regional media, so their approach is a little bit different. But if every regional media were to blindly copy what the entitled English media or the boutique English media in Delhi is doing, then obviously a lot of impact would be seen on ground as well. uh, on some of the things, obviously, as I said, you go and ask people, even though these people keep on crying that India has become a fascist state and all that, not many of those things will resonate with public. The common public still thinks that I mean, like, Hindus are comparatively safer. या धर्म के नाम पे क्या रोज रोज बोलते रहते हो, हिंदू मुस्लिम मत करो. And that person would not have any problem with Brahman Dalit being done every day. So and unfortunately, unwittingly, somewhere even BJP ends up kind of promoting that kind of narrative. So that's where I would say that they still have a lot of impact, even though it's not so bad as it was in the 80s and 90s or earlier, obviously.
All right, this question is absurd, but I'm going to ask it because I think the premise of the question itself is completely wrong. पता नहीं कौन सी RSS है ये. Someone has said RSS believes Hinduism is already dead. मुझे नहीं मालूम कौन सी RSS ये विश्वास करती है, मगर ठीक है. That's what is written. Only way to prevent Islamization is via materialistic development model, according to the RSS. So, do you think Hinduism will survive this or out of India? What explains the RSS BJP behavior? I don't know what the insinuation is. पता नहीं
No,
मुझे
I,
मुझे नहीं
I,
समझ पड़ता है लोगों की उम्मीद क्या है.
that's what the issue is. I mean, I won't completely have a disdainful approach towards the question. it requires, it requires a lot of debates and discussions in the Hindu society, because what we are accusing RSS of, RSS was like since the its beginning, actually. I mean, it's the liberal media which painted RSS as fascist and all that. I mean, again, third time I'm bringing my book. The last 5, 6, 7 pages that I have written a note on RSS. In fact, that's available on free on Op India also. If put do a Google search that a short note on RSS by a Sanghi who never went to a shaka, you would find my views on that. So RSS as such has not changed. In many ways, people like me and people like the person who has asked the question, even though even I won't completely 100% agree with him, but or her, but we had wrong image of the RSS based on how the media or our own imaginations kind of painted it. RSS always had this kind of a not a hurried approach, and they were never very bullish on traditional Hinduism as such. I mean, if you read Vikram Sampat's work, so most of the Hindutva ideologues, were hardly bullish on the traditional part of the Hinduism. I mean, we can keep on getting into terminology of whether to call it Brahmanism or what, but let's call it traditional Hinduism. Right from the genesis, actually, the Hindutva movement is not aligned or is does not see an eye to eye with the traditional movement. It was very reformist movement. I mean, it's idiots like the left and the Rahul Gandhi and Audrey Trusky and all kind of these idiots who keep on painting RSS as some obscurantist or Hindutva as some kind of a casteist and all that movement. They were anti-caste and things from the very beginning. Now, that does not mean that traditional Hinduism does not have a place or does not have a reason or a platform for resurgence, if that's what the person is asking. And, I mean, I am pretty happy, even though I might not agree with 100%, but there are articulate voices, like Sai Deepak is there. And, even Ashish Dhar with Kushal on and off. You have some fights, I think, but whatever. But so
I
these
don't have any
articles.
fights with either of them. I just disagree with their ideas. In fact, I stood up for
No,
Sai Deepak in one of my last monologues when someone called him an Islamist.
yeah, the person has to be a cuckoo. But so the traditional Hinduism is getting a new voice. I won't speak on. Let me again clarify. I don't want to speak on behalf of Sai. Whether in what, I don't think he would like to be pigeonholed into one of these things. But Hindutva definitely is not synonymous with traditional Hinduism, say a ritualistic Hinduism, or however we put it. So what we currently need in the Hindu society, not only in the right wing, is an informed debate. And what we are having is a bullshit debate by Rahul Gandhi, Hinduism and Hindutva. I mean, that's pretty absurd. But yeah, in short, RSS, I won't say it's materialistic and all that, but yeah, I don't think it was ever bullish, if to put it like that way, on traditional Hinduism. But that doesn't mean traditional Hinduism is going away or it has nobody to kind of speak for. And you never know. Once your articulation, once your thoughts starts gaining steam, starts gaining momentum. Currently, people who are not with us will be with you. So it's all about putting across those ideas strongly and in a very cogent manner. I have changed my views
Okay.
on many things, for example.
So last questions, I'm going to mix them together. So someone says, please explain what is the Hindu trad versus non-trad chasm. I think you've kind of explained it. What
Right,
are your
just
views
like
on
it.
decoloniality?
Yeah,
Yeah. So what are your views on decoloniality? I don't know if you've read it, but and one
I'm
question
reading it.
is, this is actually,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
So this is a good question. The Indian non-left in the English media tend to be quite emotional for the most part. So I guess that includes you also. It's easy to get them off their game. What is your opinion, Rahul?
No, I actually agree with him. We are emotional animals, and we do get triggered by a lot of things. uh, and we are honest. I think, we are on emotional and honest, but yeah, you need a mukhota, somebody who can. But then we are so honest that even if somebody is trying to do become a mukhota, we start attacking that person. But broadly, yeah, I mean, because this was the last I am answering it first. It's true that we that game needs to be played well. Uh, we unfortunately don't, because, as I said, we are emotional, we are pretty raw, we are very honest. We don't hide our feelings, we don't hide our likes and dislikes, which the other side is very pro at. I mean, like, see how they kept on repeating the lie that they don't hate Hinduism, but they hate Hindutva. And when dismantling global Hindutva happened, almost every speaker went on to say shit about Hinduism. So that kind of intellectual or personal dishonesty we don't have. Well, maybe we need to learn that. Uh, so that's true. I don't know how to solve that, but it's like we have just found our voice, so we are a little bit restless. We are a little bit emotional about it, maybe. That's what, and that's what takes us to the decoloniality thing. I am still to read the full book of Sai, because that's the one book that's being talked about when you talk about decoloniality. And I broadly agree. I mean, like, I know that there are few risks if you take it, stretch it too far, and that's only Sai or others, or I have to read the book. Maybe Sai might have answered that. But say, I mean, it should not happen that you put, you kind of paint everything which happened after colonialism as being impacted and as an outcome of colonialism. So cause, I mean, just because something happens after other, it doesn't mean something happens because of that. So we will have to think of a rational way. We need to have that debate, that if say the British, especially the British and the Muslims, had not come, would the current ideas of modernity, democracy or liberty, these things, would those not have developed by their own, within the Indic thought structure? So that thing one needs to study and debate in an informed way. Otherwise, we would we have a risk that we kind of reject everything as colonial, and we want to go back to the some kind of old age like the Islamists do, which I don't think. Personally, as I said, I have not read Sai's book fully yet. Uh, Again, another thing to be ashamed of, but I don't think he's a guy who would really go to that kind of length, or that kind of argument he would be making, that let's go back to some old age, and reject everything that has happened after the British came as colonial. I mean, like, internet, everything, this modern clothes, or the language that we are speaking, everything is colonial, and we jettison it. That obviously he cannot make that kind of argument. I mean, I don't think so, and I don't think that might be the point of the book as well.
Yeah, I don't think so. That was the point of his book. I don't know why people got confused by my opposition to that. I was opposing decoloniality. I was not opposing JSD's book. I was like,
Mm.
okay, that's a book. It's fine. But everybody thinks only JSD has written decoloniality, when Mignolo and all those people who actually came up with the concept are not relevant anymore. Anyways, in the non-left. So my whole opposition was to the epistemology. I'm a moral objectivist, and I don't like postmodernism or applied postmodernism. And decoloniality, in my view, is applied postmodernism. So if it is not working well when the left uses it, it's not going to, in my view, work well when the non-left uses it. That's all. Anyways, we'll
Yeah,
wrap today's
that's
discussion
where
up.
obviously my proud hypocrisy does not agree with you, because as I said, we need to copy some of the bad things from the left as well. But yeah, that's another point of not a disagreement that we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, guys, we'll wrap today's discussion up. I think the aim of today's discussion was to make solid bullet points, which Rahul explains, and then maybe make you think. You don't have to agree with Rahul. I mean, it's a very open fact that Rahul and I disagree on many things, but we always made sure that one point, a rule Rahul and I always had was, no matter what happens, we'll continue talking. And that's the rule Rahul and I have. And which is why we learn from each other. I learn many things from Rahul. Rahul will, maybe I hopefully have taught a thing or two to Rahul. And, that's how we make good ideas. And I'm very grateful to Rahul for coming and explaining. So Rahul, once again, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting me, and for making me speak. Maybe this will encourage me to come more often. I mean, my own editor Nirva Mehta has been after me. Why that? Let's do a YouTube thing now. She's definitely going to fight with me that you can go on Kushal, but not on mine her YouTube. But as I said, I had a full kind of plans, but I fell sick. Omicron. Yeah, on that note, you can say something about the virus and wrap it up. Thank you.
All right, guys. So once again, thanks a lot for watching this live, and to the ones who are watching this later, thanks a lot. Please subscribe to the channel. Go and buy Rahul's book. In the description of the podcast, I've left the link to Rahul's book, Sangi Who Never Went to a Shaka. And a couple of questions were asked about why is BJP not doing anything. The best answers to the BJP question are in Rahul's book. So go and buy his book, and maybe you'll get the answer for that. As far as I'm concerned, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. I want you guys to give feedback to Rahul on Twitter. Again, I've left Rahul's Twitter handle in the description. All these rules that Rahul has spoken about, give him feedback on Twitter, from the listeners and viewers of the Cārvāka podcast. Challenge his views. Rahul is always open to a challenge. If he doesn't like it, he'll block you. and please support my podcast. So become a member on Patreon or on YouTube, or buy the merchandise, or send the donations to kushalmehra at ICICI, not help Rahul at ICICI. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.